Hi there, everyone. It's Altinic here from 15 Below with another one of our webinar deep dives into a specialist subject. Today, we're going to be talking about how to generate extra revenue for you as a travel company. So before I get into introductions and everything, just to set the scene, as we know, margins are very tight on actual flights and things like that. So ancillary strategy is becoming increasingly important for the travel industry. Much more money can be made sometimes by selling ancillary offers attached to flights and other travel products than the actual product themselves. So today we're going to look at 3 simple tips to go through and look at some ways that you might be doing already. There might be ways you can do it better or new ideas that you can try out. A little bit about us before we get started. So 15 Below is a specialist company based in Brighton in the UK. With offices all over the world. We specialise in sending out automated communications to the travel industry. We work with about 50 clients globally, mostly in aviation, but we do work with some rail and travel management companies. We communicate with a lot of passengers already, which is where a lot of our learnings have come from. We actually communicate out to about 730 million passengers a year. And that's across all the different channels. So we send out emails, SMS, social media, automated voice, app push, all sorts of things. And that's very much globally. Throughout that experience, we've been going for about 18 years. We've noticed a real move towards ancillary revenues across our customers. So today we're going to just talk about the sort of 3 major top tips we've spotted. Helping me today, joining me on this webinar, we have 2 of my colleagues. So just to introduce myself, first of all, I'm the business development manager here at 15 Below. So I work with new customers coming on board and do a lot of our partnership stuff as well. I also have Neil with me.
Good morning. Hi there. I'm a product manager here at 15 Below, looking after the product and developing it for new use cases.
Excellent. And Rachel's back.
Hello, yes, I work in the product team and I'm the product marketing manager. So looking at ways, developing on those use cases that Neil talked about and also looking into new market opportunities as well.
Excellent, thanks guys. So it's going to be, this is one of our shorter format webinars, you'll be pleased to hear. So we're going to be in for about half an hour, but what we're looking at, this is the sort of ways we're going to look at it today. So we're going to go through Rachel's going to set the scene for us and tell us why this is so important. We're then going to work through 3 top tips, and those are abandoned cart, pre-departure communications, and itineraries and receipts. In each case, we're going to go through sort of what we're talking about, why it's important, and then talk about ways that it can be done. And at the end, we'll round off with sort of like, you know, what some next steps might be and going from there. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to hand over to Rachel at this point to just set the scene for us and tell us why this is so important.
Okay, well, I'm sure a lot of you already appreciate this already. This is just really to highlight our perspective, which is very much around the fact that, yes, of course, as a business, you're looking to maximise any revenues and profits that you make, but very much doing it in balance with the overall customer experience. So you can try and push and push and push as many ancillaries as you want, but it's really, really critical that you get that fine line and that balance correct. If you step too far over the line, then you do tend to deter customers, and any bad experience from any stats that you read research-wise, if you set a bad experience, it does tend to turn people away, but then they also have a knock-on impact in terms of them influencing other people. So we appreciate that customers demand choice throughout their journey, but personalisation is key to any success for your revenue strategy. Those opportunities only really exist when they're timely, when they're relevant, and they have to be attractive. So you get all of those things right and in place, then there's a huge, huge opportunity there. There's the Boston Consulting Group, and there are many other stats out there if you wanted to look into it to justify it. But there is an extra, they predict that there's an extra $800 billion in revenue that will be made by just 15% of the companies that get it right. So yeah, the bar is set high, and I think it's really important that we give it its due diligence and the focus. So this slide is just really to give some overview of the trends within the industry. It's no secret there are travel conferences across the world that are specifically focused on revenue generation and ancillary upsells these days. By 2018, it may well be a defining moment in aviation as airlines begin to report more revenue from their retailing than from the initial air ticket. So we all hear about Ryanair as a classic example. They don't really see their vision is that they're not an airline per se any longer. They're more of an e-commerce platform. And there are other airlines that are following suit. The best producing airlines have become expert retailers of travel-related services, which includes the ability to book hotels, attractions, and of course ground transportation. And that's another quote from Car Trawler. But I think from our perspective, it's even looking beyond that travel element as well. So what else can you do within that overall customer journey rather than just focusing on the flight and getting to and from the airport, or when they're actually within that flight? Where are those opportunities and those hotspots in which you can leverage? And that's going to be the main focus of what we're looking at in this webinar.
Great, thanks. Yeah, it's definitely exciting stuff. There's a lot of talk out there in the industry. WOW are always very entertaining to listen to on this subject. They've been semi-jokingly talking about paying people to fly on their airline because of the ancillary opportunity on there. I don't think anyone's quite at that point yet, but it's not far off. So, to move on to the first of our tips, we're going to be talking about abandoned cart. So we traditionally as a company have been very much post-booking over the years. We start with booking confirmations and send out messages from there on. We do work with a couple of airlines though on abandoned cart, and it's been amazing to see the statistics that have come out of this. So just to set the scene here, this is obviously where the customer has gone onto your website or your app. They have gone through most of the process. They've selected the holiday. They've told you what they're interested in. They've got all the way to the point of putting in their booking details, but then haven't quite completed that payment. This is a really strong tip, this one. If you're not doing abandoned cart in an automated way at the moment, it's definitely something you should look at. The conversion rates, as you'll see on the screen, are very, very strong. There is a potential 2 to 3 trillion lost each year to businesses in general, but actually the percentage in abandoned cart is higher than any other industry in travel at 81.6% rather than 76%. Now, I think everyone can understand why that might be the case in travel. Travel is one of those things where it's quite they're often quite a large purchase. It's something you've got to shop around for. So abandoned cart is going to be a real thing. But if you look at the statistics that we've seen, that 45% of those emails that we're sending out are getting opened. 21% are getting clicked on and getting engagement, and 10% of those are making a purchase. Now, that can be quite a lot of money, particularly if you're a bigger airline. That's a lot of volume that's going through there, and a lot of money that's going to waste. In other industries, things like abandoned cart and these sort of web click conversions are seen as a real key thing, and increasing that conversion by just a small amount could be a lot of revenue to the airline. So Rachel, you've been thinking about this. Can you tell us a bit more?
So we introduced this for one of our big customers towards the end of last year. It was something that they definitely wanted to capture and to experiment with. So we introduced the abandoned cart with this particular airline that I can't name, and it resulted in an estimated revenue boost of 15 million Australian dollars, and that's just in 9 months. So that's just really to demonstrate the very tangible benefits that you can get from doing a cart abandonment, abandoned cart, whatever you want to call it. It's a big chunk of change. So yeah, we wanted to share that with you in terms of giving you results and to demonstrate how effective that is.
Yeah, so one of the key reasons why we're able to deliver such good stats that Al was talking about before, and that extra revenue boost that Rachel's just mentioned, is that we do actually have the direct integration with the reservation systems. So we can take a shell booking, we can then use that to drive the process. So you're not tying up inventory for longer than you need to be. We can also deliver to multiple channels. So we can send the main text, but we can also, maybe if you have done it through the app, we can do a push there, we can send a text message, depending on whether or not how urgent it is, or whether or not they might be on the move. And because of that reservation system integration, all the data is kind of relevant and timely, which means that we can also put a lot more of the workflow around it. So I've already mentioned about removing the PNR, but we can, as a reminder, kind of follow up and say, oh, this flight's selling out quickly. You've only got 24 hours left to actually convert this booking. The other main thing here is that we kind of keep all of those PAX communications in one place. So if you then do get a schedule change that's taking, maybe a flight's been taken out of the schedule, we can actually then automatically stop those abandoned cart messages going out and trying to sell the flight which is no longer going. So it makes the whole thing a lot more joined up. We're not a marketing platform that's completely separate, so you don't have to do all the data downloading and clunky segmentation, and you've also got that direct tie-in to the rest of the operational business.
So what you're saying basically is it's a really good idea to still use your CRM and all of that kind of intelligence, but keep it PNR focused so that it doesn't mess with your inventory. And
exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it allows you to keep following up, and if people do buy bookings off the back of it, but their credit card gets declined maybe, then of course you can build that into a standard workflow to follow up and keep your inventory clear and actually get bums on seats.
One of the things we talked about the other day actually was fear of missing out, wasn't it? How you could also link it into, you were looking at this flight and then like linking into tours and activities, or maybe concerts or whatever it may be, and actually integrating that into the notification to say, hey, look, you know, if you don't book it, this is what you're going to be missing out on. So looking beyond your fare might be going up or it might be going down or seats might be selling, it's looking to that bigger journey picture.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think tours and attractions is a kind of really good way of, you know, sort of bringing that into abandoned cart, because if you know that, you know, it's that tantalizing people of where they want to go or not, you know, and let's face it, wherever they're most excited about that trip, that's probably where they're going to book it, you know. So pointing out that they're going to miss a big festival, or even if it's just the major attractions, and saying, look, you know, if you don't come to Paris, you're not going to get to see the Eiffel Tower, or, you know, even if it's really basic stuff. But, you know, some of the more sophisticated in-destination providers these days can tell you about, you know, feasts and holidays and festivals and, you know, openings, all the other stuff that go in there, and that'd be a really sophisticated way of doing it. I don't actually think it'll, because of that personalisation, it doesn't come across too salesy or too spammy. It still makes it seem quite concierge-like.
Yeah, and I think that's quite key, the tone of voice that you use within notifications, so that it's not too pushy.
So, moving on to the next one, which kind of feeds in nicely actually, is pre-departure communications. So these are notifications that will be going out either timed around the booking or timed around departure. So it could be however many days after they book, you want to get in touch and just say, look, here's a summary, here's some pre-trip information, or more likely you're going to do it timed around departure. So maybe a month out from the flight, a week out, doing it like 24, 48 hours before, so you can combine it with airport information and, you know, check-in reminders and that kind of thing. I think originally when we first started doing this, it was fair to say we did it to reduce the amount of incoming calls. So the idea was to give all of the customers just the right information at just the right time, so they didn't need to contact the airline and find out, you know, what seat, what terminal, you know, what time do they need to get there, what do they need a visa, you know, all of that, have you got all my details, that kind of thing. So what we do now is we use all that information, and what we realized is it got a very good engagement rate, because that's not the sort of information people ignore from their airline or their travel company. Everyone wants to know all of that key information before they go. So we've used that now to sort of get that engagement and use all of the information we have in there, because we have very rich information. By the time we've taken the booking and we've enhanced it with all the stuff we look up about the airport, luggage allowances, routes, weather, all of that kind of thing. We have a very rich data set that we can then use to call in for ancillary revenues. So as long as those are personalised, which I think we're probably banging on about quite a lot, but it is key, it has to be something that very specific set of people will want on that trip. Then there is a lot of revenue to be made in there. We've all seen the stats for tours and attractions, for instance. There is a lot of money to be had there, and it's a really good opportunity to sell them. So we did this recently with Edelweiss, I mentioned.
We did. So we implemented pre-departure communications with Edelweiss at I think it was beginning of last year. And they very quickly saw a 100% increase in their car hire bookings. Literally from doing this one very simple, I say simple, I mean obviously it's quite complex, but in terms of setting it up, it's very easy for airlines to set it up, and it had an immediate response and impact on their bottom line. So yeah, I think to your point, the ability to personalise it and use it in context of the overall journey, having that operational sort of context of the notification means that you've got those open rates and click-through rates, as well as reducing the calls coming into the call centre. So there's, you know, a double whammy really.
Neil, got any more to add on that?
Yeah, so we've got multiple third-party integrations that you mentioned, Al, that really allow us to seamlessly pull in kind of real-time quotes that based on actually the real booking profile. We're not kind of doing a rough and ready segmentation based on kind of proxy values that might be in the booking. We're actually using the booking data, so we know exactly how long people could be there, how old the people are on the booking from there, passport details, say. And all of that can be packaged up in a branded notification which matches exactly, because it's the same platform, the operational stuff that's going out. That kind of gives it a certain authenticity, which then leads to those far higher open rates. And it's really useful for then targeting it to groups or for children, because you know how many people are going to be there. You can really tailor the tour and activity that's linking to that, that's appropriate.
Or the size of the hire car, or
yeah.
All the other suggestions. We've actually seen some really awesome ancillaries you can stick in here recently. Things like Sherpa, which can include a link which tells you what your visa requirements are based around your thing. You can click on the link, and for a small fee, they'll actually they'll use all the booking details to fill in the visa application, which is an enormous time saver. It's something I take every time. There's other things like, taking into account other information we've got, like the weather, when looking at tours and attractions, so that it suggests things that are good to do even though it's raining and you've got small children with you. That type of personalization, I don't think, once again, is it's seen as helpful by the passengers rather than as an imposition and a straight up sales thing. The idea is to go, look, here's all the things you might not have thought of. Here's it really tailored to you. I mean, on a very basic level, as we said, it's suggesting the right size car for the right sort of money for that type of booking. But on a more advanced level, it could, be something like pre-filling in visa applications, or suggesting tours and attractions that match everything we know about the booking, the destination, the weather, the time of year, all of that kind of thing.
I think that's, the context, I think, is really important. That concierge style service that everyone talks about, it is making sure that you are being helpful and not too salesy.
And we've done previous webinars on how to further enhance this type of thing around disruption and what to do in disruption situations. So if you're interested in that, you'd be able to see on our website later on. But we've done stuff about whether you can further enhance pre-trip notifications based on the fact that maybe their trip isn't going to go as planned, and what to do about disrupted passengers, how to handle them all the way through, leading up to the airport, during a misconnect, when they get back, all of that kind of thing. So, third tip, Itineraries and receipts. Now, this might seem like a bit of an obvious one because everyone sends out some sort of booking confirmation. But there are definitely good ways of doing it and bad ways. So an itinerary and receipt is obviously often it's the first brand experience that customer has from a communication point of view after they spend some money with you. So this is it coming out to you in a hopefully in a well-branded, straightforward way that everyone can understand. So this is a notification to say, thank you very much, you've just bought the following things. It should also say, obviously, you didn't look like you bought these things. Are you interested in them? So it's just a case of making sure they get something that's easy to read, that's in the right language, that's branded effectively. There are a lot of very generic booking confirmations going on out there where you can't really tell which airline you're from by the logo at the top. We as an industry have a tendency towards jargon, which is to be avoided. But obviously this is a really, as with PDC, it's a really good vehicle for adding those personalized ancillaries and just getting that engagement with the customer. Nobody ignores their booking confirmation from their airline. It's a good engagement.
So yeah, I think just building up on that, if you might already be doing elements of this, but like Al said, having that branded template and the ability to lure people in with the upsell by having very well designed templates helps. Bearing in mind that I are to predict that passenger numbers will almost double by 2036, so they're estimating to about 7.2 billion passengers by then. So even if you think the tiniest improvement that you can make in this area could have potentially huge gains for your business. So that's very much how we as a business operate. We can do big implementations, but it's having the platform that you can tweak and you can test and everything like that. And as long as you fine tune it, you can then see ongoing revenue improvements as you go on and adapt to the markets as well.
So there's a big bit of feedback when people start using this for itineraries receipts, the ability to just edit and manage it themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can have like the same basic template, but then tweak it based on brand, the office ID that it was booked in, so you can have really kind of tailored. I mean, we could even have slightly different branding for each level of frequent flyer tier that people are in. It kind of reflects that you know who they are, and it's not just buying a ticket, it's kind of almost a sense of community and recognition of who they are. And we think that kind of helps in the upsell as well. You kind of forming that connection, and you're not just trying to flop and stuff. Basically.
That kind of personalisation is key. I mean, for Castle Magny, for instance, we do their booking confirmations receipts globally, but all of that has to be sensitive to, where it was booked, where the customer is, where they're travelling to, where they're travelling from, what are the, on a sort of back end side of it, what are the legal requirements around the financial and legal requirements to go into those receipts, and are we ordering a copy receipt the first time it's around there? But that kind of stuff is very critical in things like business travel, but I can see it becoming more important from a personalisation point of view. If it looks like a generic, everyone gets the same type of booking confirmation, it's a sort of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to finish off a little bit at the end to talk about how we can help and that kind of thing. We obviously send out a lot of these notifications. It's one big platform that does all of these notifications. It's integrated directly with the reservation system, and we can design it bespoke for each travel company as well. So it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. We come and design it with you. We use the experience of the last 18 years and the 50 odd customers we've got to talk about best practice. And as Neil has said, it's all it's personalised to the customers, but it's very personalised to the application as well. And we've got a lot of the sort of more recent thinking around this. If you are interested, do get in touch with us. On our website, you'll be able to see case studies. We've got a lot of articles on best practice. We've done quite a few of these webinars over time with different formats. Some of them are more informative like this, others more panel discussions, case studies, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in any of that or anything we've talked about, please do get in touch with us. and we can arrange a more individual chat via WebEx or in person. Our contact details are here, but you should find it's easy to get hold of on the website. So it just remains to say thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you very much to Neil and Rachel.
Thank you.
And we will see you for the next one. Thanks very much.